It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of September 18th, 1998. I just had to make sure I got the right date. We got 6 movies to look at here, some notable films, but we have a lot to get to here, so let's just go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker in Brett Ratner's Rush Hour. So yeah, not much there in terms of originality or story-wise, but it's very much in the same vein as something like a 48 Hours or or as of more recently when this movie came out, Lethal Weapon. Of course, Lethal Weapon had its 4th film come out at this point. That series had kind of died off, and here you have this movie coming a couple months later to kind of take over the mantle that Lethal Weapon kind of established, took control of at the begin. It's almost 10 years ago when you have Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker and Brett Ratner had worked together before on Money Talks with Charlie Sheen the year before, and that made for a really good movie. Jackie Chan was a rising action star. The mending of all these people coming together for a film like this seemed like it would work out well, and people bought it. A lot of people bought it. You basically have a typical setup for this type of a buddy action comedy. 2 mismatched police officers, played by Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. They're assigned to rescue a Chinese diplomat's abducted daughter. You have Tom Wilkinson, Mark Rolston, Elizabeth Pena, Rex Linn among the cast in this. And yeah, it's pretty much what you'd expect from a movie of this caliber, but it's a good, fun movie. Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker have a lot of good chemistry together, and Brett Ratner does a pretty good job as the director of this. It's also written by Jim Coop, who wrote another 48 Hours guest type of film with Charlie Sheen and not Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss in Stakeout, and it definitely feels like this is a match made it perfectly for this type of film that they're trying to do here. And like I said, they made a really good movie out of it. It's a fun film. It's nothing too grand or in terms of originality or cleverness, but it's still a funny movie. Like I said, you like Chan and Tucker together. The chemistry just works so well. The comedy overall is very good. It's a well-made film. It's no Lethal Weapon, but it works perfectly fine for what it is. It's a very enjoyable film. I can't recommend it enough. Rush Hour, you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. It's definitely worth the watch. And of course, it led to its own series of films after that. So we will eventually get to those as we get going. But let's go to the next movie here. Meryl Streep and Renee Zellweger in One True Thing. Yeah, that trailer just reeks of terms of endearment for the 90s, and I thought that's exactly where they were going, but turned out that was not the case, and this one actually is not as bad as you would think it would be. It's basically the story of a woman in her 20s, played by Renee Zellweger. She's forced to put her life on hold in order to care for her mother, who's dying of cancer, and the mother being played by Meryl Streep. You have William Hurt as well as Tom Everett Scott. Bette Midler actually performs the leading song of the movie. And it's directed by Carl Franklin, who's given us some great films, some great underrated films. One False Move, his last film, Devil in a Blue Dress, is a great Denzel Washington movie. It actually does turn out to be a pretty solid film that trailer makes it look so much more melodramatic and so much more Oscar-baity than it has any right to be, but when you watch the movie, it actually is more than valid of all the things that it's trying to sell you on. There's no emotional moments in here that feel too manipulative, and I think everybody in the cast does a great job of elevating this to another level. Like, if they would have gotten lesser actors for this probably would have been something on the lines of a melodramatic Oscar-baited, cliched riddled film, but it's not that whatsoever. It's a film that does its job very well. I think it surprises a lot of people, and it has a good director behind it that can elevate this material to another level as well, so it's actually pretty good. I'd actually say definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it already. It's kind of an underrated Meryl Streep film, honestly, because this film was not a big hit when it came out. And with the exception of her winning as being nominated for an Academy Award for this film did not do well at the box office, but it did well critically, though. So it does have a little bit of a cult following, I would think. But if it doesn't, and I'm just saying that just to say it, it definitely deserves it, because it actually is a pretty enjoyable film. I'd actually give it a recommended if you guys haven't seen it, so. Speaking of overrated films that probably don't get the recognition they deserve, on to the next movie, and that is Permanent Midnight. Yeah, kind of like Ben Stiller's directorial effort from a couple years ago, The Cable Guy. This is a film that has definitely did not get the proper attention it probably deserved at the beginning of its run in theaters, but has since gone on to have a massive cult following in the years since its release. This is basically based off the autobiographical story of writer Jerry Stahl, who's been a successful TV writer for many shows, including 30 Something, Twin Peaks, Alf. Clearly, three things that mesh together from the same writer. But it's also about his struggles with substance abuse. And Ben Stiller plays Jerry Stahl here. You also have Elizabeth Hurley in here, Maria Bello, Owen Wilson, Cheryl Ladd, and you see Janine Garofalo there. It's a really good movie. It's a very solid film. This director, David Veloz, does a pretty good job of handling this material pretty well here. And like I said, it's a movie that I think was well ahead of its time. It's a film that I think was well ahead of its time. Probably too many people back then didn't understand it at first, but as the time has gone on, and they've seen it again, they've realized that the film is actually a lot better than people give it credit for, and that Ben Stiller, he could do dramatics pretty well. I mean, he's done it pretty well in other cases. Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a very good, underrated film that he directed, that came out about 10 years ago. The funny thing is that David Duchovny was actually going to play this character, but he actually left it to do Playing God, and that film did not work out so well, and Ben Stiller took it, and he has a pretty damn good movie to his name to it. And, yeah, not much more to say about this one, except this is a really damn good movie that's very underrated. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, because it is definitely worth a watch. So with that said, on to our next movie, and that is the latest Merchant Ivory film, A Soldier's Daughter Never Cried. The film that people probably thought One True Thing was going to be. This is based on the fictionalized account of the family life of writer James Jones. This is based off his daughter's novel of the same name. And it's structured as a novel. It's split up into 3 different segments, each named after a different protagonist. The plot follows a family living in Paris during the 1960s and 70s until they return and adjust to life in New England. And it's seen from the point of view of the daughter, played by Lily Sobieski. Which I find it kind of funny, because literally the next movie she's in, her character is literally in a bra and panties for much of the movie. I mean, that movie, of course, being Eyes Wide Shut. And that's the one I think a lot of people mostly recognize her for, but this is her feature film debut. Jesse Bradford's also in here. You see Chris Christopherson, Barbara Hershey. And, I don't know, it's a film that I think that it's kind of what you expect from a Merchant Ivory film. I've never seen it before. Most people have seen it and said that it's not that bad. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's any good or not, but, I don't know. It looks kind of a little too Oscar baitish for me, so I'm not in a real hurry to see this film, but just for the fact that it has some decent reviews for it, maybe I'll check it out one day, but I'm not jumping out anywhere to go see it now, but, anyway, that's all I got on that one. A Soldier's Daughter Never Cries. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Six String Samurai. A film that I have never heard of until now, but I'm kind of intrigued by what I see here. You basically have a story where it's a post-apocalyptic action comedy set in, I think it's set in Las Vegas, or as they call it here, Lost Vegas. And you basically follow this mysterious and powerful hero of the classic kind named Buddy, who's as skilled with his guitar as he is with a samurai sword, and thrown together with a kid who he saves in a spectacular battle. The two of them must now escape their enemies and reach Las Vegas, the rock and roll capital of this future world. And yeah, this is another movie that I think was definitely ahead of its time. If it was released nowadays, I think this film would have garnered a much more bigger appreciation for it. This actually is supposed to be a trilogy, but it never made it to a trilogy because the budget was $2 million, and they only made back about $100,000. But it's billed as a post-apocalyptic musical satire, and honestly, I think that's more than enough for me to kind of want to see this movie. So, I haven't seen it, but man, I kind of want to now. So, speaking of movies that I might want to check out at some point, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie here, and that is Jaimin Hansu and Ill-Gotten Gains. I mean, just from that trailer alone, I couldn't show you the whole thing, but man, that is one stylish-looking trailer, and this is Jaimin Hansu's feature film debut. Basically, the premise is that Africans revolt while in prison on board a slave ship during slavery times. Jaimin Hansu's in it. Eartha Kitt has a voice in it, but that's really all I know about it. But man, that trailer was so stylish on its own, I kind of want to see it. Even if the movie doesn't end up being as good as it probably is, that trailer was more than enough to kind of convince me to want to check this movie out one day. So maybe I'll check it out one day, but I don't have anything else more to say about it, honestly. That's ill-gotten gains. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We have 6 more movies to look at on the next episode. Robert De Niro and John Frankenheimer's Ronin, the horror film Urban Legend. We also have Christina Ricci and I think Edward Furlong and Pecker. Could be wrong on that one. Clay Pigeons is another one we'll look at. Monument Alley and the Brandon Tina story. So 6 movies to look at. We'll look at those next time. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you next time. And until then, as always, take care.